Hello, Saints. This is my short version of how I left the Adventist Church. So, as many of you know, or maybe you don't know, that doesn't matter. I was born and raised in the Adventist faith, and I remember from an early age, my dad had the testimonies volumes, and the story of Sister White just fascinated me from a child when I first heard about her, that she had this supernatural gift that she could, communicate with God, and God would take her off in vision and show her things and gave her a panoramic view of the world from the beginning and all the way through to the end. And that really, fascinated me. And I wanted so bad that kind of experience, but I believe that that's I'll never make that. You have to make the cut, and I didn't make the cut. I mean, she was all the people that I was not. She was so good, and just a poor child who got hit with a stone on her head, and this is what happened, and I was not that kind of a person. But anyway, I held a fascination and a respect for that, and so we had these volumes, and I remember one time my mom telling us that you guys need to read these books because this is going to go ahead of you in the time of judgment. You're going to be judged because your books are sitting right there. You guys don't even read them. And when I decided to take my Christianity serious, that was one of the things that I started to read. I started to read the Bible, and I got very confused. It didn't make any sense, and I learned quickly on in Adventism, as most young Christians do, is that you got to pretend as if you're getting it, and that you got to make some kind of sense out of it, of reading the Bible, especially if you're going to read the King James Version, which is more like the good people read the King James Version kind of a thing. And you have no clue what you're reading, but you make up something that you kind of hold on to, and so you go with that. And reading the testimonies for me, especially when I started to read the Great Conflict series, really helped me understand the Bible. So that already put Sister White on a higher pedestal in my life, in my mind, than then, well, yeah, as a good Adventist, and I badly wanted to be a good person, a good Christian, a good Adventist, and I was. So I got the health message in real quickly, and I could see how it could tie in and how it could actually help us in our lives. Rather than focusing on the health message as such, I was focusing on the diseases, the different diseases that you can get by not eating healthy, by not living healthy. And I took this health message to a whole new level. So from the time I found out about it, I heard a lot of simple remedies and different things that we could do, and I was fascinated. I was always fascinated with that. I wanted to be a doctor, so this to me was like, this is the best thing. So fast forward years in my life, I remember when I first became vegetarian. That was when Mrs. Ahmed had come back from, I think she was in Australia. I don't know where she was. She came back with these little books on health. And they were just simple remedies on how you can make yourself better using charcoal or poultice and all of that. That completely blew my mind. I was so fascinated. I held on to that stuff. I started practicing. I started helping people, and it worked. And it worked for me. It did, because I used to have headaches like every day. But when I started eating healthy and drinking more water and doing all of this kind of stuff, all that stuff stopped. And so I had no reason to doubt it. I just was annoyed and upset that the way the church taught the health message was a do or die. If you do not follow the health message, you're going to hell kind of thing. And that I remember us having one big old fight where the women in the church were really upset with me, and people wanted to beat me up. And and it was a women's retreat. And I was saying, you have to, I was quoting the testimonies. And Sister White said, those who are unsure of themselves in this time, on account of meat eating, are going to go from God's people to walk with Him no more. So I took the word of the testimonies way, way, way more serious than the Bible, because to me, it explained the Bible. It was a light that helped me to understand what God wanted from me. And it was something that I could understand it, because the King James Version was nice to quote. It sounded very good, but I didn't understand it. And I couldn't tell anybody that I don't understand this. I didn't know that nobody else can really understand it. I went to Wildwood, and I did a 6 month training program there as a lifestyle coach. And I came back in my church. I was very active. I always have that kind of, that was my passion. And that's what I've been doing, teaching people about all of that kind of stuff. Then I realized it's not quite cutting it. So I went to nursing school, did that. That still wasn't quite cutting it. Went back, got my master's. I need to be able to get to a place where I can function independently and help people. So here am I. You all know my dad, that I have that same kind of argumentative spirit. And in Adventism, if you can argue your case better, then you're a better kind of a Christian. And I was going to be that. I had no problem living my life without disturbing other people. I just believed that this was the truth, and I believed it with all my heart. And after coming from Wildwood and going through all those treatments and seeing all the people doing these kind of things, that was the life, I was not planning on turning back. Once I got my master's degree, I came back and I tried to find a way that I can incorporate the health message, being the right hand, in the church. We did some programs. We did like a weight loss program. It was very great, very successful. But I wanted to do something more. And everybody that I tried to get in touch with, it just failed. It just fell short. What I found out was that I could not have the ministry and a job at the same time. A lot of the people said, well, this thing doesn't really make any kind of money. So they opened their own practice. These were the doctors that I talked to. They opened their own practice, and then they run this ministry of the health thing by itself as a nonprofit, just a way to help the people. So I would have these big old health expos, and we would get hundreds, thousands of people coming through, and it was something that I just loved to do, teach them, get to talk to the people. Then I felt like this is what I'm supposed to be doing. This is where I can actually minister to people and meet people. And then I was, one time we had a vegan fest downtown, and Nice was there, and he wanted some help. So I said, no problem, I'll come with the crew that I have from church, and we're going to do the health expo for you. So at that point, I realized that a lot of people came through the stall that day, and nobody was really interested in our message as a way to salvation. They were there, and then I realized that the whole vegan community are very angry people. They just mad at everything. I don't know what their beef is anyway. I don't know who they're angry with. But I realized that a lot of people want to keep whatever religion that they have. They like the lifestyle of being vegan and vegetarian because it's new, it's a novel, it's a novelty. Everybody likes something that's new, and it sounds fascinating, and it has to do with the whole new eco-friendly green kind of stuff. So I mean, we were not the only vegan vegetarian stuff that was there. There was a lot of like vegetarian handbags and clothes and shoes and nail polish. Let me tell you, it's crazy. Anyway, that helped me realize that there is a niche out there, but it was not bringing the people into the church as it was supposed to. And again, that was another failure, because we're going out there, we're witnessing to people, but we're not getting any souls saved. Nada, not a one. They came, they took whatever we were doing, they did the massage, they loved everything. But when it came to the word of God, that, okay, now you guys need to change your eating habits and all of this so that you can get life, nobody bumped into it. And that really confused me. So that was one of the things that was on the back of my mind too. And then prior to that, this, it's like different layers, let me say, different layers of questions when you're going through this process. One of the biggest things that I questioned a lot, when I was in school, I was under a lot of stress, and I decided to read the Bible again. I remember we were going through, study the Beatitudes with my mom, and then we kind of dropped it off. So that's where it started for me, when I mean, in earnest. There'd been times and processes and questions coming along, but it didn't have that impact on me. There were little seeds, but they never germinated to anything. They just made me more aware of Christianity, more aware of my lack, more aware of my need for my Savior. But when I started to read the Beatitudes, I decided I'm going to memorize them. And going over this in the process, I read the first chapter, and blessed are the poor, blessed are all of that. When it got to the point where Jesus now says, I have not come to destroy the law, but it's not, I'm here to fulfill. That finally, one day, it hit me. It hit me, and I was like, he's not come to destroy the law. He's come to fulfill. What does it mean to fulfill? If somebody has fulfilled something, they have ratified it, or it is now established. It is now in process. And that was a question, like, how did he come and fulfill the law? So that was a question that I had in my mind. And then the whole chapter changed for me at that point. I could not unsee that. I kept coming back to, he said, not one jot or tittle shall in no wise pass till it has been fulfilled. And then immediately he says, I am come to fulfill. And I was like, wait a minute, he just said something here. He just said, not one is going to be destroyed or pass away until I come to fulfill. So in other words, I'm here to fulfill. So this thing is passing away. And when I could see this, I was like trying to ask people that I knew, how does this sound? What does this really mean? All the elders that I was friends with and the people we used to study with, nobody could give me a good answer. We kept coming up with stuff. And then at that time, Brenda told me something. She said she always would send me, hey, listen to this, Pastor. Hey, what do you think about this? And then we would go a little bit deeper into study and different things and all of that stuff. So she says to me, read the book of Hebrews. I have something I want to tell you, read it. And I read the book of Hebrews, and she said, do you see anything in there? And I'm like, no, well, the Hebrews is a wall of fame, and it's so wonderful and all of that stuff. And then she said, no, read it again. And I read it again. And she said, when you see something in there, tell me. I read that book, I think I read it 10 times. Honestly, and I'm not lying. When I say 10 times, I'm just being on the conservative side. I read it 10 times from the beginning to the end. And I said, what I see in it is the seal of God is not the Sabbath. And she said, yes. And then I said, what is it? And then she said, we want to talk. And I was like, oh my gosh, what does she mean? The seal of God is not the Sabbath. But I could see it right there in the book of Hebrews. So that was another side of the journey. This was when it was taking on another level, where I was now starting to analyze it and look at it a lot for my own self. And then we did a little study with Brenda. We did the sanctuary study. And we talked about the scapegoat and how the scapegoat cannot be the devil at the same time. And I'm like, that's not a strange thing to me. It didn't make sense anyway at the beginning. I just could not verbalize it to anybody that. But when Sister White says, well, finally the devil is going to be the one that's going to take back all the sins of the world because he's the one who instigated, I knew that. But it still didn't make sense to me, because the whole idea of Jesus coming to tabernacle with us and the whole idea of him coming to die for us was to die for our sins. And now we see the scapegoat, and the scapegoat is now the one that takes the sins of the world. And if that scapegoat is the devil, then is the devil one who came to die for the sins of the world? Another question that I didn't have an answer to. But at this point, I had gotten so used to Adventism, where we have questions that we don't know what to do with, and so we ignore them. We bank them quietly. We don't discuss them. It's not a doctrinal, it's not a salvific issue, and so we move on with the more important things like keeping the Sabbath and doing all of that other kind of stuff. We've studied the book of Galatians, and we've had it as a in the quarterly, and we read in there where it tells us that these things have no bearing. There's no slavery, there's no man or woman, there's no holy days or unholy days, and it doesn't make any sense to us. So again, we have perfected that art of ignoring most poignant and important truth, and we substitute that for a form of a ritual. another ritual that we do. We hold our communion, and in our church, our communion was hot. I tell you, we were trying to be the best at all of that, you know. And I think every Adventist church has got that. There was even one of the ladies who was our head deaconess, her sisters were in Maryland, and they used to have competitions. So we, by default, were dragged into the competition. Can you believe this is having a competition on unveiling the tablecloth? So it became so funny to us. It was like, are you guys serious that you're gonna make this ordinance, this holy ordinance of the Lord's Supper, a competition to see how you can unveil the tablecloth, so it was too funny for me at this point. I was like, you got to be kidding. So that was going on one level, and at the other level I was kind of trying to seek a deeper, closer relationship with God. And it had me questioning a lot of the time. It's like, what is this whole worship? Where in the Bible does it even say we need to start at 9 o'clock, sing 2 songs, have an opening prayer? But we were so used to that ritual. It gave so many people comfort. It gave us a sense of belonging. It gave us an identity that we ignored all the important things that we were struggling with in life, in day-to-day life. And we replace that, with this form of godliness. When Joy said that the church is dead and it keeps coming up with more and more exciting things, new light, everybody coming with new light. You get a new preacher, is coming with new light. We run from preacher to preacher. We are having now celebrity pastors. This is the same stuff, okay, bringing new this and that. And we chasing the Pope, helter-skelter. The Pope did this, the government did that. I got to a time where I was like, that's enough. That's enough. I can't even get my house in order. I can't even get myself together. And I can't be chasing after the Pope and who's doing what. I'm not ready for the Lord to come. I am not ready at all. I have no business trying to figure out so many other things. So I wasn't really so much now into running after that. I was trying to find a deeper, closer walk. And I remember reading about Enoch, and I was like, I want to be like Enoch. I want to walk right out of here. I want to just walk out of this place and walk into heaven. And not that I'm afraid, but I want a certainty. I want certainty that I am saved. And that was like what I was searching for in my quest to get to know God more. And then more recently in my the few years leading up to this, the kids are all grown up. The families, of course, you can't keep fighting the kids to come to church. So I left that. There's always been issues like that. So that was not really the big problem. What happened, like right at the end, when I had walked enough, stepped up enough on the side of questioning of Adventism. When Brenda told me, she mentioned, I think it was Desmond Ford. I don't know how the conversation turned to that, because I kept pushing her. Tell me what you know. Tell me what you know. I want to find it. And she's not telling me anything. She's kind of like, that's it. We studied the sanctuary and I still didn't get it. I got what she was saying, but I didn't see how it translated into where she was. When I found out she wasn't going to church, and then I'm like, I think she kind of must be tired or stressed out, or she just lost it. I don't know what's going on with her. I thought there was a problem with the church in England, and there was something going on with the pastors over there, which was not affecting us because we were busy. We didn't even have a pastor anyway. We were a self-governed church. We were like a group of people who was church plant, and so we were really busy. And for me, those who know me, I was like, you need anybody to stand up in church? That's me. You need Sabbath school superintendent? You need anything that needs to be doing? I got this. I can do it. And I had no problem with it because I was sold out on this. I really was. I believed with all my heart. And we had a fantastic fellowship. We had a different kind of church. Anybody who came to our church found that this is different. You guys don't have to deal with pastors and elders and all these people who kind of want to act, the hierarchy of church and what is this word? Recognition and wanting positions. we didn't have that. We didn't even have to deal with that. It was very different. We started out like going to homes and all of that. So eventually the group of people in California gave us some of their tithe money or whatever it is. They decided they were going to add it with ours. And that got us to our church status because we had the finances. Not that we had it ourselves, but somebody else was bankrolling us. So we got church status. And then that's how we got a pastor, and then that's how we got a church. But other than that, we were very one-on-one, friendly kind of group of people. So it was a nice relationship. I'm going to cut this one off because I don't know how long a good video should be.